Marley from the Energy Boutique with a brand new series that I am calling ASTRO CLASS. So I'm hoping to dive into some charts here and actually explore some of the astrology as it happens. And I'm hoping that through each of these episodes, we are going to provide you with assistance, with support, with some guidance in order for you to dive into your own birth chart, really explore where these astro events are taking place, really kind of connect the dots on what this is going to mean for you. And of course, just kind of explore astrology in action. That is the best way for us to learn. So in this episode, we are going to take a look at Saturn. Saturn, as you know, the Lord of Karma, is moving out of Aquarian energy that he's been in for the last 3 years, and we're moving into the final chapter in Pisces energy. So of course, I have put out a whole forecast on what this astro event is going to be, a little bit more in depth, if you will. We've been talking about this particular astro event taking place for quite some time now. I'm going to give you a brief overview because I don't want to spend too much time on it. I want to jump in and actually do some chart work. And I'm hoping that, we're going to be able to kind of understand what Saturn is all about, who he is, the energy, the mood that he brings, and what his time in Pisces is going to mean for us. We are going to take a look at charts that basically have Saturn moving through all of the different houses of the chart, and we're going to kind of pick apart what those particular houses may mean and what Saturn being in Pisces is going to bring to particular areas of your life. So let me just be clear. If you know how to access your birth chart, I would go ahead, I would get that in front of you. If you do not know how to access your birth chart, I have videos on this. I will post the link up in the corner here, or you'll see it down in the description of the video. It's very important that you know how to access your chart, how to go ahead and see where the current transits are taking place, and have a general idea of what it is that you're looking at when you're looking at your birth chart. Of course, I have mini courses on this. If you want to do a deep dive, I have free content, free videos on this as well on my YouTube channel that you can get some information in. But basically, all you need to know is how to access your birth chart so that you can follow along. Now, there is going to be a lot of information that I'm not able to cover here because that is a general, general astrology rule or understanding or principle that, we'll have to kind of address at a later date. But do not hesitate to drop any kind of questions that you have below the video because, of course, I can go ahead and take those questions and create a whole video in trying to answer some of those questions. So bear with me. This is a new process. I am not technologically advanced at all. My brother taught me how to screen record on my iPad so that I can, mark up certain charts and kind of show you what it is that I look at when I'm doing a reading or when I'm trying to consult a chart to see where particular aspects are taking place. So please bear with me. So first, I just want to kind of address the fact, we'll just do a summarized version here. Saturn is the character, okay? So we want to take a look at the planets as characters. We want to take a look at the zodiac signs as moods that the characters get in when they are in a particular sign. So Saturn is the Lord of Karma. He rules over structures, foundations, and he really kind of brings some tough love life lessons at us throughout all of the signs. And we all collectively have this energy working with us and sometimes against us in order to kind of push us into our potential. But we are individually in our chart seeing Saturn kind of manifest in different ways. And that's what I want to cover, Saturn through the houses, if you will, as we move through this particular episode. So what we first have to understand is that Saturn moving into Pisces is attempting to close his 30-year chapter out. Saturn takes 30 years to go through all the signs of the zodiac, and Pisces being the last zodiac sign, this is where we kind of swim with the fishes, if you will, when we dive into the emotional and spiritual realms of our existence. And I will say Saturn is not at his place of power here. He's been in his place of power for the last 5 years, 6 years, technically, when he was in Capricorn energy and Aquarian energy. Of course, he rules over both of those signs, which means he was in a pretty comfy place, had a lot of power, a lot of impact. Moving into Pisces energy, he's pretty much dethroning himself, but do not be fooled. He still has a great, great amount of power. Now, I think the most interesting thing that we can kind of take from Saturn is on the very first day when Saturn first moved into Aquarian energy that rules over the collective and society. And of course, Saturn rules over restrictions and rules and systems. We've seen the pandemic lockdown. And so we're going to be pretty happy to see those particular rules and restrictions kind of loosen up. The Piscean energy is a water sign, so we are going with the flow, so to speak. One thing I also wanted to say, Saturn in Aquarius since 2019, obviously Aquarius energy is a fixed sign. So we had Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius being most affected by Saturn's transit through a fixed sign such as Aquarius. Now, the fixed signs are going to be able to celebrate a little bit because, Saturn's not breathing down our neck. However, the mutable signs, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius, you're the ones who are going to be affected. And we also want to take a look at our individual planetary placements because your mutable signs and your mutable placements are going to be definitely activated while Saturn moves through Pisces. So I am going to point that out when we move into kind of dissecting some charts, if you will. What we want to talk about is Saturn comes in to destroy the things, the systems, the structures, the foundations that are not in alignment with the well-being and the potential of the individual and of the collective. So there is a lot of energy to reform, to reorganize, restructure, to re-innovate. And we're definitely going to be seeing a really wonky attempt to do this in this Piscean energy, because Pisces, of course, it's boundless. There are no boundaries. And of course, Saturn's all about boundaries. And we're emotional and we're creative and, we're dreamy. And we want to go with the flow. We're not really down with conformity and constriction in Piscean energy. So this is why it's going to be super, super interesting to see how Mr. Saturn is going to bring a little bit of structure to the area of your chart and life that he'll be kind of moving through. He creates order where there's been chaos, but because he's restriction and he wants control, we kind of have to expect less control and more surrendering, more increased imagination and fantasy. And of course, all of those sound very fun and very dreamy until you get into the shadow realm of what Pisces energy is, which is the unconscious shadow realm of the collective. So this is where drugs and alcohol, addiction, where we want to escape, where we want to numb, where we want to kind of disassociate, detach from reality altogether. Saturn's here to kind of bitch slap us and recognize where it is that we have to kind of, create a proper system and foundation, a structure, if you will, in order to deal with some of these very deep topics that the Piscean energy is absolutely going to bring to us. So the last time that Saturn was in Pisces energy was 1996. And so if you were born around that time, you are likely preparing to have your Saturn return. And that Saturn return happens from 27 to 32, totally shakes and wakes you up to a new perspective on what it is that your life needs to look like. It can be very rewarding. It can also be kind of feeling like a little bit of punishment. And we're going to explore that in some particular charts as well. So we are definitely going to understand as Saturn moves through Pisces over the next couple of years where it is that we have to eliminate some delusion, if you will, some lies, some confusion, some deception, if you will. And of course, there's a lot of that going on out there in the world. And so Saturn is going to help boss us up to be a little bit more disciplined, more structured, to have more control and order over ourselves, over the details of our lives, and what it is that we need to build in order to actually create a brand new reality. So to have Saturn kind of move into Pisces energy is definitely going to be an adjustment for all of us. And of course, if you are a Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, or Sag, you're in for a little bit of a major transformation, if you will, over the next 3 years. If you're ready, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at Saturn moving through some charts. So in an attempt to keep everybody's information and identities private, all you're getting is the initials and the birthplace of this particular person's chart. So if your initials are MH and you were born as a Scorpio with a rising Aquarius in Nova Scotia, Canada, this may be your chart. So I want to identify the most important factors. The fact that this person is a Scorpio with a rising Aquarius means that they are getting some sort of relief having Saturn move out of the fixed signs and into mutable ones. So we know that there's a little bit less struggle, less challenge for this particular individual. We want to look for where their Pisces energy is, and it's right here in the first house of self. Okay, so Saturn, who is right here, has already spent some time in the first house of self, in this Aquarian energy, and will spend the next 3 years moving this away. If you have Saturn moving through your first house of self, this is a major reality check and glow up over the next 3 years on how it is that you see yourself. Your ego, your identity, how it is that you express yourself, how it is that you show up in the world. And it may require you to kind of buckle down and get a little bit more serious about the roles and responsibilities that you have. Now, without going into too much detail, this person's already been through it. Saturn already went through their 12th house of endings and closures, through their spiritual aspect house, which likely ended in a very serious death ending closure of that particular individual's self, moved into this first house of self, reborn, resurrected, revived themselves. And now we have some delusions, some lies that we have to really tackle because, of course, this individual is leveling up in their relationships over here because, of course, this is mutable energy, leveling up in their home life as well, and leveling up in their career life over the next 3 years. This is the particular axis that all this mutable energy is on. But in the first house of self, you have to realize that you need to do things a little bit differently, starting with really examining the shadow parts of self, recognizing the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that are preventing you from taking on new roles, from putting yourselves out there, from actually seeing where it is that you actually have to roll up your sleeves and do the work to create the right routine, system, structure for yourself so that you're just not flying by the seat of your pants. Over the next 3 years, this is going to be a huge transformation of how it is that you see yourself and how it is that you put yourself out there in the world to be seen. So if your initials are RS and you were born in Nevada, USA, as a Sag with a rising Capricorn, this may be your chart. So what I know to be true, because he's a Sag, he's definitely going to be triggered and activated to boss up. Okay, his Sag energy is over here, ruling over both the 10th and the 11th house. So their first part of Mr. Saturn's transit through this Pisces energy is going to have a major impact on the career. Now, we want to take a look at the fact that his rising sign is Capricorn. Saturn rules over Capricorn energy, right? He's right here. Mr. Pluto's there. That's a different story. But this individual has also gone through a little bit of a deep transformation of shadow self, an awakening of sorts. And the very first part of Saturn's transit will be in the first house of self, like the last chart, in preparation for a brand new structure, brand new routine, brand new form to be built in the second house. So the second house is where we build, we create, we bring to life the structures that are needed in order to house our dreams and our ideas, but also where it is that we build upon our resources, our skills, our talents, where it is that we may see our monetary and possessions actually grow. But here's the thing. With more money, more problems, okay? Biggie said it best. So you have Mr. Saturn here, and by the time Mr. Saturn moves into the second house of building and creation, you are definitely, this individual anyways, definitely going to see a solid foundation. Now, it might be low and slow, and it might be, 2 step forward, 1 step back because of the water energy of Pisces. But we are building a solid sense of self here in this first house of self, where we are willing to boss up and express ourselves, put ourselves out there in ways to create opportunities in this second house to really expand and increase our money matters, our resources, the foundation of stability and security in our life. Again, we want to check to see that, there's a lot of mutable energy here, which means that those particular aspects are going to be activated over the next couple of years. We see the Gemini energy, we see the Virgo energy, we see the Sag energy. That, of course, are all mutable signs. And with all of these placements that this particular individual has, these are going to be major effects with where, the next 3 years is really going to change and transform this person's life. So we do see that it is majorly going to impact their relationship sector, maybe in the last year and a half of Saturn being in Pisces. This particular person might see an ending to their relationship, their current relationship that they enter into Saturn into Pisces with. A lot of this has to do with the vision, their dream, their mission, their purpose changing, having a dramatic effect on their career, and of course has a major impact on the 4th house of home and family. Why? Because this person is learning the hard way that they need to align with what it is that their heart is asking them to do. And so this is going to be a major structure change in their life, all starting with how it is that they see themselves, how they project and express themselves outward, and what it is that they're actually willing to roll their sleeves up and create in their lives, where routines, relationships, and money matters are concerned here in the second house. So if your initials are AM and you were born in California as a Virgo with a rising Sagittarius, this may be your chart. Now, what I know right offhand, being a Virgo with a rising Sag, you're about to go through a major, major transformation. Why? Because Virgo and Sagittarius energy are mutable energies. So we have that as a baseline, that there's going to be a major impact to who it is that you are and how it is that you're showing up in the world, how it is that you're out in the world, kind of creating life and reality for yourself. We are going to see that glow up. Now, we take a look at where Pisces energy rules over. And in this particular chart, it rules over the 3rd house. The 3rd house is the mental plane. It's ruled over information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves. And with Pisces energy here, this is great for creators like artists and musicians and writers. We're tapping into that imaginative, creative energy of Pisces, and we're bringing it down into the lower level intellect of logic and practicality and expression, where we can actually get it out. Saturn is here to create a structure for us to be able to actually communicate and express ourselves well. So we know that this particular individual is about to go through a major transformation in what it is that they believe in, 9th house, right? And how it is that they express their beliefs and opinions out into the world, 3rd house. We also know that, of course, the Pisces energy will be affected, the Gemini energy will be affected, the Virgo energy will be affected, the Sagittarian energy will be affected. Now, Saturn moving through this particular sector of this individual's house is also going to be making some natal aspects. This is going to be a huge amount of growth for the inner dialogue, for the inner mental plane, for the amount of ideas, imagination, and creativity that comes through. Saturn, though, as much as we want to understand that he's here to help us create the systems and structures needed in order to get these ideas out and share them with the world, he is also showing us where it is that our negative narrative is blocking us from doing that, where it is that our fears, our doubts, our insecurities from speaking our truth and being heard can actually lead us to blockages of our mission, of our purpose. We know that Saturn moving through this third house for the next 3 years is going to have a major impact on this Virgo energy. They sit across from each other, and this is where this person's sun is. So eventually there will be a Saturn opposition with the natal sun of this individual, which is a little bit of a brand new sense of self, new identity, new ego, new ways of putting yourself out there due to the changing of the belief system and how it is that you boss up to actually have your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions expressed. Of course, there is going to be a little bit of an issue with the relationship dynamic, how it is that this individual is showing up in the world and really balancing their energies with other people, especially here in the sixth house. It's an indication where you're probably giving too much of your time, energy away to other people, not reserving it enough for yourself. And then, of course, the aspects being triggered over here in the seventh house is going to help stabilize the energy exchange. And of course, over here, the Sag energy, what I find most interesting is that when Mr. Saturn down here in this Pisces energy gets to 4 degrees, there's going to be a square, a Saturn square with this person's natal Saturn. And then the 12th house, this is their spiritual house. This is their shadow realm house. So there's definitely going to be some delusions, if you will, that need to be illuminated on how this individual sees themselves and how it is that they are expressing themselves and bringing their ideas forth. There's going to be a total restructuring of that because you see that this energy will also be aspecting the first house of self. So by the end of the 3 years, this individual will be standing in a new level of confidence with a new voice, a new truth, a new mission, a new purpose, and will definitely be aligning more with their belief system once that belief system goes through a very intense overhaul. So if your initials are JG and you were born in Ontario, Canada as a Leo with a rising Scorpio, this may be your chart. We know that as a Leo with a rising Scorpio, you're moving into a time where things aren't going to be as much of a pain, as much as an obstacle, a challenge, and a struggle as it's been for what I would say the last 3 years plus. Technically, I would say 5 to 6 years. However, there is still some intensities that come with Mr. Saturn. So we have to identify, first of all, that Pisces energy rules over this person's 4th house. The 4th house is home, its foundations, its family dynamics, its boundaries, it's where we come from. And Mr. Saturn here, as he enters into Pisces energy, is about to illuminate for the next 3 years the dreams, the ideas, the aspirations that you have for your home, for your family unit. Now, we could also see a huge amount of restructuring going on in the home and family unit if you are in a situation that is not of your highest soul's purpose and mission. This could also bring a huge increase of responsibility into this area of your life. Maybe you're moving, maybe you have to kind of, implement some systems and structures so that everybody's not flying by the seat of their own pants. Maybe you're finding some relationships impacting this home dynamic. Maybe you're adding to your family. Regardless, there's going to be a major shift, major attention shift and focus on what it is that you want to build as far as your home and your family life go. And this is the 4th house, which is on the house of, or on the axis, I should say, of the 4th and 10th house, which is about the safety, security, and stability that we're feeling. In the 4th house, it's our emotions, our home, our family dynamic. In the 10th house, it's our career, our roles and responsibility, and our money matters. So this particular individual does have some mutable energies that, of course, will be activated over the next 3 years. We have to understand that the 4th house is the major focus. Across the street from that is the Virgo energy over here in the 10th house. So there may be some choices regarding career opportunities or income advancement. There's some refinement that is needed to balance out the roles and responsibilities within the home versus the roles and responsibilities outside of the home. We also want to consider the fact that this particular individual has the Gemini energy ruling over both their 7th house and their 8th house. So there is a new relationship or an existing relationship dynamic that will have a direct impact on this home and family. And in the 8th house, this is death, rebirth, and resurrection. So there is some kind of ending taking place, I would say, in the last year and a half of Saturn's transit through Pisces. Now, over here is the Sag energy that is also going to be greatly affected. So this, the changes going on into the 4th house, which is the major star of this particular, astro class, going to have some major impacts on who this person sees themselves as, taking on new roles and responsibilities. They have their Uranus here being aspected the minute that Saturn moves into this Pisces energy at a 0 degree, which means that there's some serious change taking place. Now, what I would say is Saturn and Uranus kind of squaring off doesn't normally feel good because we want to change. We know we have to change, but we're also resistant to that change. And because most of the changes are taking place in this home and family, there's likely been a huge transformation of self that this person has had to boss up into. Now, the second half of the Saturn and Pisces transit will definitely be activating this person's natal Neptune in a retrograde. So there's already a square between transiting Neptune and this person's natal Neptune taking place because of where Neptune is. So this is the second house that we talked about of, routines, relationships, money matters, where you're bossing up materialistically, if you will. And of course, a major impact on the changes taking place in the 4th house, impacting the home and family dynamic. So if your initials are KH and you were born as a Leo with a rising Libra in New York, USA, this may be your chart. So as a Leo, it's a fixed sign, so there is going to be some relief with Saturn moving into this Pisces energy. And we find this Pisces energy over here ruling over the majority of the 5th house. Now, I will say the very first, here's Mr. Saturn here. When he first moves into this Pisces energy, it is going to be the tail end of the 4th house. So there is some restructuring, some attention that needs to kind of be put on the home, the family dynamic, the changes that are needed in order to find safety, security, and stability in one's home life and in one's career over here in the 10th house, because the 4th and the 10th house, they go together. But this is probably only going to be, I would say, for the first 7 months before we actually enter into the 5th house. So if you have Saturn moving into Pisces in the 5th house, there's going to be the weight of responsibility that you're going to feel to follow your heart, to identify new passions, new desires, and really create a system and a structure in your life in order for your creative endeavors and pursuits to actually be expressed. This is, the 5th house is your heart chakra. It's what you love. It's what makes you happy. It's playful energy, childlike energy. It is your creative energy as well. And so there is likely a lot of disorganization, a lot of cluster Fs that happen in your life that prevent you from truly aligning with your heart space and being able to identify what you're passionate about, what it is that you want to bring to the world. And so Saturn is here to offer you a little bit more stability and also give you a little bit of a bitch slap of reality to get your shit together and actually start following your heart and soul instead of abandoning what it is that your wants, needs, and desires are to do what you think other people want you to do. How do we know that? Because the 5th house sits across from the 11th house. What I would say is that maybe you'll be taking a new hobby to a level that actually creates you an income. Maybe you'll take a different, more serious approach towards your romantic relationships and levels of intimacy. Whatever it is, there is a more clearly defined system and structure to go about creating more happiness, joy, pleasure in your life. And so the next 3 years is definitely going to illuminate for you what you have to do to kind of make your heart happy. Now take a look. This particular person has a lot of mutable energy, a lot of earth energy, which is going to be a tough ride because those particular aspects are going to be kind of triggered and activated over the next 3 years. Let's see. They have Gemini energy ruling over their 8th house. So there is something ending, a part of themselves, an old version of their reality that needs to die in order to free up the space for new ideas to actually be born. This Gemini energy that rules over the mental plane, this is where the ideas come from. The heart, 5th house, and the head, Gemini energy, they need to have a little bit of a structure in order to get in alignment. Now over here, the Virgo energy, which is also a mutable sign, this is where the majority of their earth energies and immutable sign are being activated. This is again highlighting the ending part of their 10th house at the beginning of Saturn's transit, and then will be kind of opposing all of these very, very powerful placements for them. So they're at a crossroads in their life. They're at a major point on whether or not they're going to continue doing what they think other people want them to do, or whether they're going to abandon the obligation and commitments that they've made to try and make other people happy and do what they can to make themselves happy. That's what this 5th house is all about. We have to understand that the Sag energy is being activated as well. And in the 2nd house, this is the opportunity for them to build new routines, new relationships, new skills and talents, new resources in order to help stabilize their life, bring new money in, and of course, add to their material wealth and possessions. If your initials are ME and you were born as a Virgo with a rising Libra in New Brunswick, Canada, this may be your chart. So we know that as a Sun Virgo, Saturn will be opposing your Virgo energy in this Pisces energy, because Virgo and Pisces energy sits across from each other in the zodiac wheel. We take a look at where this Pisces energy is at. And of course, Pisces is ruling over the tail end of their 5th house and the majority of their 6th house. So here is Mr. Saturn, and he will be moving this way over the next 3 years. So the very first, I would say, year-ish, we're still going to be in this 5th house, trying to identify what it is that we're happy, that makes us happy, that brings us joy, that brings us pleasure, tapping into new levels of creativity, really kind of tapping into the energy of the 5th house that we discussed in the previous chart. When we're talking about the 6th house is your day-to-day life. So we're taking a good look at the increased responsibilities, I guess we'll say, to your day-to-day life, where structures are needed in your day-to-day life in order to support happy and healthy habits, routines. This is where health and wellness is concerned. This is where, yes, the Pisces energy wants you to go with the flow, but Saturn, of course, needs you to have a wellness structure to take care of your mind, your body, your soul. Now, this is very focused on the physical body, which is interesting because normally Virgo energy rules over the 6th house. Virgo and Pisces energy are on the same healing axis. And in this particular person's chart, we have Pisces energy ruling over the 6th house, while we have this Virgo energy majorly ruling over the 12th house. So this is a great time to focus on new diet, new exercise routine, new meditation practices, a new way to take care of your body, but to also incorporate the spiritual practices from this Pisces energy. Now, Saturn is all about structure and routine. And so we do have to be a little bit more bossing up, if you will, to take care of our physical life. Now, we want to take a look at the fact that this particular person has these mutable energies that will be affected over the next 3 years. And we find that in the Gemini energy, they have their true node and their Chiron. So this is going to be squared by Saturn moving through the Pisces energy. They also have their Sag energy over here with some very important planetary aspects that Saturn will square over here, creating a tension, a friction, if you will, on a new vision, a new dream, on a new truth, a new mission, a new purpose. Because this is the 3rd house, this likely has to do with new creative ideas, new ways of expressing oneself, using the voice in a different manner. And because Sag energy is ruling over this 3rd house, this likely has a lot to do with the transformation of the belief system that this person has, either from their spiritualism, their religion, their culture, whatever it is that they have kind of adopted, they will be refining. We know that because, of course, the Gemini energy rules over the mental plane. It's all about new perspectives, new information, new details. And in the 9th house, this has a huge impact on the information coming in that totally changes, transforms, and morphs the belief system that this particular person has. So they are going to have a square off with the natal Chiron, the wounded healer. They're definitely going to be offered a beautiful choice point, a beautiful crossroads towards the end of this 3-year transit. And they are going to see a lot of growth, a lot of change, a lot of, I'm going to say, ability to communicate and express themselves, again, using their voice. We don't want to ignore this Virgo energy over here. Of course, they are a Virgo, so their sun is going to be aspected here in the 11th house, giving them a new ego identity to actually align with a new vision, a new dream, new hopes and wishes for themselves. And the majority of the Virgo energy is in this 12th house of our hidden realm, our unconscious selves, our shadow work, our intuition, our soul contracts. So there is going to be a lot of focus on healing for this particular person, mostly healing through the physical realm, the physical body, the mental health. And of course, tapping into this 12th house energy of emotion and spiritualism in order to provide that kind of healing behind the scenes, behind the physical matter that, of course, the 6th house rules over. If your initials are NL and you were born as a Libra with a rising Leo, in Alberta, Canada, this might be your chart. So we know as a rising Leo, there's going to be a little bit of a relief coming at you on the roles and responsibilities to boss up and put yourself out there in the world. That is a much welcomed, I'm going to say, shift and change. However, we have to take a look at where Saturn is setting up shop. And there is Mr. Saturn. And here is the Pisces energy. And the majority of this particular transit, the next 3 years, is going to be focused on the 7th house. The 7th house is partnerships, relationships, the team, the group. And what sits across from the 7th house is the 1st house of self. So what we know is that Saturn in the 7th house is really going to bring a lot of responsibility to the relationships that you have, how you share your energy with other people, where you prioritize other people's wants, needs, and desires over your own wants, needs, and desires, and really kind of bring some of your hopes, your dreams, your ideals where it comes to love and relationships to life. But it is going to attack the shadow realm of your past experiences and push you into recognizing where new boundaries are needed in order for you to stop avoiding the tough love life conversations that need to be had in order for relationships to remain healthy. So let me just give this to you this way. This particular transit can go one of two ways. It can mark the very start, the very beginning of what is going to be a long-term, very serious, very healthy relationship. And it can support the dreams that the relationship, the two partners, the two people have for the outcome of this relationship. Or this can be a new time period where you are having to learn the hard way, where it is that you have to set boundaries in your love life, where it is that you need to maybe create distance, where it is maybe, I'm not going to say breakup, but where it is that maybe you need to understand that in the 7th house, especially as a Libra, because Libra rules over this 7th house naturally, where it is that you have put your own wants, needs, and desires on the back burner, again, 1st house energy, in order to make other people happy. And that's the people-pleasing qualities that a Libra is here to learn in their lifetime. And so the seventh house is supposed to be providing you with balance in your relationships. However, if you find yourself in a relationship where the energy exchange is unbalanced because you put other people's wants, needs, and desires before your own, there is going to have to be a little bit of a detachment, a little bit of isolation needed in order for you to understand where you end and the other person begins. And this can be a very difficult time, but it can also lead to a new realization of worth and value within oneself, while still being an individual as a part of a relationship. So there is a lot of ways that this could go. Now, this individual, I would say the last year of Saturn's transit will be in this 8th house of death, rebirth, and resurrection. So whichever way this particular transit goes in the 7th house, either supporting a long-term relationship and really getting clear boundaries on what that relationship dynamic needs to be, or finding the detachment, the isolation that is needed in order for you to regain your individuality, there is going to be a ending, a closure taking place at the last year of Saturn's transit while he enters into this 8th house of death, rebirth, resurrection. Now, keep in mind that we check the mutables. This person only has their natal Neptune being aspected here. And that's not a bad thing. This is dreams, ideas, and inspirations that this person has in the 4th house for a home, for a family unit. And this is what we're building upon, the individual partnerships that are needed, the healthy support system needed in our romantic partnerships in the 7th house in order to create this happy, stable home. What we also want to take a look at is this Gemini energy. This Gemini energy for this individual rules over the majority of their 10th house of career. So there's going to be a major change, because this is a square. There's going to be a major change in this particular person's career path. And maybe the changes of this career path are going to help the relationship in the 7th house. Maybe they're going to harm the relationship in the 7th house. Maybe this is about bringing the wants, needs, and desires of the individual to the forefront in order for them to pursue something in their career that makes them feel fulfilled, have meaning, have purpose. Now, the Virgo energy over here, like we already discussed, is in the 1st house of self. So there is an element, because Saturn is moving here, the 7th house of relationships, it's what do I want? What do I need? What do I desire? What do we want? What do we need? What do we desire? And making sure that those scales, again, Libran quality and theme here, scales are balanced. If your initials are KS and you were born as a Taurus with a rising Leo in Florida, United States of America, this may be your chart. Okay, so as a Taurus with a rising Leo, those are both fixed signs. So we know this person, as Saturn moves into Pisces energy, is going to get some relief. It has been a very, very tough go for my fixed sign friends over the last 3 years. So we know that that is a good thing. Now we have to identify where Pisces energy is, and this is going to be in the 8th house. The 8th house is death, rebirth, resurrection. Now, some astrologers are going to want to talk about death and taxes in this area, the shadow topics of what's taboo. We're going to talk about resources, shared resources, and assets in this particular house as well. However, in my experience, this is about what needs to end in order for something new to begin. What needs to die in order for a new birth, new creation to take place. And in Pisces energy, this has to do with the systems and structures in your life. It also has to do with the shadow realm of your thoughts, of your feelings, because again, Pisces energy is the unconscious collective. This has a lot to do with your dreams, your ideas, your creativity, your spiritual selves. And in this 8th house, this is the death. The 2nd house is the rebirth. So we have Pisces energy, which is about endings, closures, and death anyways, really being amplified by Mr. Saturn. And then on this end of things, you have the Virgo energy looking to create order, looking to reorganize and restructure, taking the initiative to build something new, solid foundations in routines, relationships, and money matters. Again, 2nd house qualities. So we have Mr. Saturn over here. And in the 8th house we need boundaries anyways. We need to understand the old parts of us, the new parts of us, where we need to merge them together, integrate. We do need to really take a good look on what needs to die, especially with old narratives, old dreams, old delusions, old soul contracts, because that's what the Pisces energy is all about. So Saturn is here to help provide us with a new system, a new routine, a new structure in our lives to build upon. We get that building energy again from the Virgo energy over here in the second house. We know that taking a look at this person's mutable energies, there's only 2 planets that are going to be aspected over the next 3 years by Saturn's transit. We can take a look at this Gemini energy. They have their natal Mercury in this Gemini energy at the tail end of their 10th house. And at 2 degrees, once Mr. Saturn gets at 2 degrees in this Pisces energy, there will be a direct aspect taking place, a square, if you will, a tension, a conflict with their natal Mercury in the 10th house. Now, this to me would scream that they are struggling with imposter syndrome in their career, where it is that they're afraid to truly express their wisdom and their knowledge, the experiences in which they've had. And Saturn is here to kind of eliminate those fears, those doubts, those insecurities, so that they can rise up and kind of step into a new level of power and authority in their career. We also have to understand that this aspect, Neptune in a retrograde, is going to be kind of triggered and activated when Mr. Saturn gets to the 13th degree, right? This is going to be also a square between the two, which is a tension and a conflict that needs to create a major change. Now, the major change that's happening here, Neptune is about dreams and creativity. And in a retrograde, there's a hesitancy here in the 5th house of this person to really acknowledge what would make them happy, what would be their passion, what would be their desire. The Sag energy here just wants them on in alignment, a quest of truth, a quest of mission, a quest of purpose. And because the 5th house sits across from the 11th house that the majority of this Gemini energy rules over and will be aspected in, there is a breaking down of the inner narrative. Again, I would say imposter syndrome in their career right now. And once the energy kind of moves into this 11th house, this is really going to be pressurizing this particular person to see what it is that they need to end, what it is that they need to walk away from in order to create a new vision and dream for themselves that, of course, is more heart inspired over here in the 5th house. So we do have to kind of understand that the 8th house is about death and rebirth. So there's a constant question that this particular person is going to have over the next 3 years on what do I need to let go of? What is old and outdated? What do I need to let die in order for something new to begin? What is that new beginning? Well, I'm going to have to consult my 5th house, my heart chakra, to see what it is that my heart is asking me to pursue. And likely it is going to be some form of education, knowledge, communication being brought forth in the career that, of course, at this point, they're not comfortable in, that they will find a sudden shift, a sudden change in as they align with their heart space and get very real with what it is that they're passionate about and what it is that they want to pursue. So if your initials are FP and you were born in Alberta as a Pisces with a rising Cancer, this may be your chart. So we know right away, as a Pisces, you're about to go through it. Okay, Saturn is essentially set up in your sign for the next 3 years. So you are going to go through a major, major transformation, and you are definitely not going to be the same as you are walking into Saturn being in Pisces over the next 3 years. You will be walking out of this Piscean energy as a bossed up version of the brand new sense of self that you are going to have after Saturn is done with you. So we have to take a look at where Pisces energy rules over this particular person's chart. And Pisces energy, for the most part of it, other than this little blip in the 8th house, is ruling over the 9th house. So the 9th house is our higher selves. It is the education, the experience, the spiritual wisdom that we have. It's our pursuit for constantly kind of upgrading our awareness and our enlightenment. So Mr. Saturn is moving into this particular chapter of this person's life will be aspecting their natal sun, which is going to be a little bit of a reality check on where it is that they need to boss up into new roles and responsibilities and really kind of be their best selves. This might be hard because it is going to be very hard to build in a water energy, and will eventually be aspecting their natal Mars as well. That particular aspect, and again at 16 degrees, will likely happen in about a year and a half. That 16-degree aspect with Mars is going to be where it is that you really kind of boss up and take action. Mars is our passion, our excitement, our physical energy, our drive to be better, to know more. That ninth house is the education factor. And what sits across from that is the third house of the mental plane. So there's new information, new ideas coming into the mental plane that essentially is going to shape the belief system of this particular individual. I would also say that this is a high probability of this particular person really, I'm going to say, tapping into old education, qualities, characteristics, skills, traits that they've been putting on the back burner, especially their creative energies, and where it is that they're actually going to start working with that, bring it into a new modality, being able to be truly expressive with the creative energies that the higher self over here in the ninth house is pushing for this person to truly kind of embrace. Now, the third house being ruled over by Virgo energy here. Again, Virgo ruled over by Mercury. Mercury rules over the third house. So there's going to be a lot of mental processing going on, a lot of mental processing where your beliefs are concerned, where your education is concerned, where your wisdom that you've accumulated from tough love, life lessons of the past is concerned. And we have to take a good look at what Saturn is essentially going to be pressurizing over the next 3 years. And we take a good look at the Sagittarius energy of this person's chart. And we see that, first of all, Saturn will be squaring this person's natal Uranus. So there is this want, need, and desire to change, this want, need, and desire to step into the ability to listen to the heart space, what makes us happy, where the creative energies are, and really kind of shift our perspective, shift our mission, shift our purpose and truth, and being able to truly express ourselves from our heart space. Now, we also have to take a look at the Gemini energy that will be aspected as well. So this particular person rules over the majority of their 11th house. The 11th house is connections, community, network, vision, dreams, hopes, and wishes. So it does kind of feel like this particular person is being challenged to kind of gain more education, more perspective, more wisdom, more knowledge, or tap into the resources that they already have in order to really get in alignment with what that means for them in their heart space, what calls out for them, where it is that new passions, new desires, new creative energies are asking to kind of be taken care of, to be nurtured, and to be brought into this new vision, into this new goal of the 11th house. So we are going to take a look at the fact that there's their mutable energies, right? So we have, you know, a fair amount of natal aspects, starting here with the Sag energy and starting, of course, with the Piscean energy as well. So between the Sag energy and the Pisces energy being in a square for the next 3 years, this is definitely going to push you to educate yourself, to do what you have to do in order to gain the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience, the education, the skill sets that are needed in order to bring your creative ideas into reality. Again, over here, building a solid foundation, earth energy, Virgo energy, in order for these new ideas, this new truth, this new mission, this new heart aligned purpose to actually create a better vision of the reality in which this individual wants to manifest. That 11th house, of course, new goals, new aspirations, new dream, new vision, but it has to be activated by this heart space. And over here, Saturn is pushing you to gain the wisdom and the knowledge that you need in order to bring these dreams to life. So if your initials are AO and you were born in Ohio, United States of America, this is for you. You're a double Gemini a sun Gemini with a rising Gemini, you best believe you're about to go through a major transformation in your life. Saturn in Pisces will be squaring this Gemini energy in your 12th and first house of self. So the 12th house is endings, closures, your spiritual self, your unconscious self, your shadow realm, your hidden emotions. And of course, we've kind of explored what the first house of self is. So there is a death needed in order for a rebirth to actually take place. So what kind of death is needed? Well, we're going to take a look at where Pisces energy is in this person's chart. And we see that the Piscean energy rules over the 10th house of career, of reputation. So we definitely know that there's a major change not only taking place in the career, but also the home. Why do we know that? Well, the 10th house sits across from the 4th house of home and family dynamics. So here's where the Virgo energy wants to create order, wants to create stability, wants to kind of fine tune the home and the family environment. But there's some major changes taking place impacting the career of this person that will likely have a huge influence on the home and family dynamic. Also having a huge impact on the endings that are needed in order for this person to kind of be reborn, revamped in a brand new way. And we take a look at the Sag energy, and of course it rules over the 6th house and the 7th house. So there's likely going to be some relationship issues taking place here at the latter part of this 3-year transit. Right now, I think that this person is just kind of realizing what needs to end, what needs to die in order for there to be a rebirth taking place. When the rebirth takes place towards the end of the 3-year transit, it will likely be due to a major change in the relationship dynamic, which of course is impacting the career and the home and family dynamic. So Mr. Saturn is here to bring some boundaries, some new responsibilities, some new structure to the career, to the reputation. And this could definitely weigh you down with some duties in your profession. This could also illuminate you to the new dreams that you have, the ideas, the aspirations that you have as far as your career is concerned. So because Geminis, this isn't going to work for everyone, but I just need to throw this in here. Because Geminis need flexibility, need to kind of go with the flow, it is going to be a little bit rougher having Saturn here in this 10th house because you can't fly by the seat of your pants anymore. What you need to do is you need to have that stability, that system, that structure that provides you with the, let's call it, container for your aspirations, your ideas, your creativity to actually be born into. This is creating you with safety, security, stability in your career, in your public eye, and also overflowing to give you the safety, security, stability in your home life. So we can already tell that this person, because they have a natal Chiron here, there is a lot of darkness, a lot of wounds, a lot of old pain and trauma that is kind of being created here, likely to do with disempowerment, disillusion, with wanting to run away and kind of avoid that system, that structure, those roles, those responsibilities. But now realizing that in order to boss up to new levels of power, authority, new levels of wisdom, new levels of finances and advancement, we really have to take a good look at the shadow realm of our thoughts, of our experiences, in order to see where it is that we've been essentially creating the blockage. Now we check to see this person's mutable energies. There's quite a bit there. We are seeing the opposition. Okay, so as soon as Saturn moves into this Pisces energy, we are going to have these two factors, Uranus and Mars, be totally opposed by Mr. Saturn, which puts a lot of tension and pressure on where there is a sudden shift, a sudden change needed where physical energy, passions, and desires are concerned. And I will kind of just say, likely, this is going to be anger, frustration, that fuels this particular change, fuels this particular fire. Of course, you know, we're squaring the sun, so the ego, the identity is getting a little bit pressurized. We do have to change who it is that we are if we want something different in life. And again, like I had mentioned over here, there's a huge change in the health and wellness of this particular person, which may mean that, you know, their roles and responsibilities in the career and the home life are changing because of it. So if your initials are JK, and you were born as a Scorpio with a rising Taurus in New Brunswick, Canada, then this may be your chart. So like I had mentioned, we already know a Scorpio and Taurus, that's a double fixed, okay? We know that this person is going to get some relief with Saturn moving into this Pisces energy because Scorpio and Taurus are both fixed signs. And of course, we've had a lot of pressure, a lot of squeeze on fixed signs over the last 3 years. So we take a look at where Pisces energy is, which is ruling over the majority of this person's 11th house. So the 11th house is connections, it's network, it's community. It is also the big dream, the big vision, new hopes, new wishes, new goals. But it's also where it is that we tend to kind of put more weight on the responsibilities and the commitments that we feel like we have to do for other people. So, you know, it's a little bit tough because our energy gets kind of spread out amongst other people when we should be reserving it for ourselves. Now, here's an interesting chart that I just wanted to kind of show you guys. This particular person has their Saturn, yes, in a retrograde, but has their Saturn in Pisces energy at 18 degrees. So the minute that Mr. Saturn here dips his toe in this Pisces energy, the Saturn return happens for this individual, which means that they're likely in an age of, I would say, you know, 27, 28 right now, just because, you know, their Saturn is right here. We need to get, I would say, 2 years into this Pisces energy before there's going to be a direct aspect. So the ages of 28 to 32 is typically speaking when we have our first Saturn return, and then we see it at 58 to 62, and then 88 to 92 if you live that long. Anyways, it's a major transformation in life. Systems, structures, basically everything, your environment changes big time around your Saturn return energies. So we know that this person is about to make some major moves, likely major changes where friendships, connections, community, network is concerned, where maybe they are reaching their vision, their goals, their dreams. Maybe they are recognizing where old dreams, old ideas, old inspirations need to die in order for new ones to actually, you know, come to life. We see that, of course, the Virgo energy rules over this particular person's, the majority, the 5th house. So there's a lot of heart activations here. There's a lot of what I would say restructuring of the environment of how it is that they're moving throughout their day, who it is that they're connecting to, recognizing who and what brings happiness, safety, security, pleasure, and joy to their lives. Now we want to check this person here has 3 mutable planets that will be aspected. So of course, we already checked out the Saturn energy. And over here, of course, is the Sagittarius energy that will be squared, right? Tension and conflict to make major change. And this particular person has Mars and has Jupiter being aspected in this Sag energy. So it's going to be a sudden shift of focus, of passion, of inspiration, of motivation, a huge amount of growth where endings and beginnings are taking place, where new things are being built, especially within themselves. So they've reached a new level of who it is that they are, a new level of their ego, a new level of their identity. They've also reached a new level of obtaining some material possessions, building routines, relationships, money matters that are long-term standing foundations that are going to be there for quite some time. So we understand from this person's chart that, yep, they have definitely reached a life-changing fork in the road, if you will, where everything in their life is about to change. And taking a look, and again, not that I'm trying to get into a chart interpretation here, but they got a lot of their energy transiting through the 12th house of endings and beginnings, and it's opposing a lot of their personal placements in this Libran energy, which does provide a little bit of a choice point to balance out the energy, to balance out the roles and responsibilities that they have or had in their life. This is essentially, even before Saturn actually meets their natal Saturn, this is the beginning of setting the tone for the foundation that they will be building upon for not only the next 3 years, but the next 30 years. So this is a monumental transformation, upgrade, glow up, level up in their life. And especially in the 11th house, they are going to be in the right place at the right time to align with the right people, with the right opportunities, because they're of like mind. They're operating from their heart space, from this 5th house. So although there might be some boundaries needed in their friendships or in how it is that they're sharing their time, their energy with other people, it is also providing them with a new structure, a new environment for them to connect with people of the same vibration, the same frequency, that have the same vision, understanding, and goals. If you have your initials EK and you were born as a Gemini with a rising Aries sign in the United Arab Emirates, this may be your chart. So right now we are taking a look at the fact that this is a Gemini person. So they're definitely going to have a major change, a major transformation, some tough love life lessons thrown at them while Saturn moves through Pisces energy. Pisces energy for them is in the 12th house, and this is going to be a powerful placement for them because Pisces naturally rules over the 12th house. So there is more of an intensity when the energies basically line up with the natural flow of the zodiac wheel. So Mr. Saturn is here in the 12th house. Okay, the 12th house is endings. It is our spiritual self. It is the hidden realm of our experiences, the shadow realm. It is where isolation, where I'm going to say solitude is needed in order for us to figure out who it is that we are. This is on the healing axis between the emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health that we need. And Saturn being in this particular area of life and in this chart is going to bring a lot of discipline to the routines that you have in order to take care of yourself. This is going to provide you with the stability that is needed to take care of all areas of the mind, the body, the soul. It is also the area which dreams, ideas, inspirations get born. But of course, in this 12th house, it's also where our fears, our doubts, our insecurities come into play, preventing us from actually going after what it is that we want, we need, we desire. So we have to take a look at the fact that there's a huge emphasis on this 12th house. That is where the major key tough love life lessons are going to take place. It sits across from the 6th house that the Virgo energy naturally rules over as well. They do have other energies, of course, contributing to this 6th house. But this is, again, daily habits, daily routines. How can we break the day down into smaller, more manageable pieces in order to kind of level up to equal the greater, grander vision and dream that we are aspiring to actually manifest? We take a look at their mutable signs. They do have quite a few mutable placements that will be aspected. We can find that in the Sagittarius energy that will be squared by the Saturn transit. And over here, we find Uranus in a retrograde. Now, Uranus in a retrograde means that there's a great awakening to one's mission, to one's truth, to one's purpose in this particular lifetime. But we have to unpack the darkness, unpack the baggage here in the 12th house in order to not only balance the scales between our mind, our body, our soul here on the 12th and 6th axis of healing, but we also have to take into consideration that this particular energy ruling over the 8th house of death, rebirth, and resurrection, and the 9th house of higher education, higher wisdom, higher learning, this is a new level of awakening for this person, which can be a little bit scary. We have to take a look at the Gemini energy over here. We have Chiron, Mercury, the Sun, and Mars all being aspected while Mr. Saturn moves through this Pisces energy. The Chiron energy, so we're looking at the 2nd house and the 3rd house for these particular aspects to take place. There's going to be a major level of healing with Chiron, a major shift in the mental plane, focus, direction, major transformation in the ego and the identity, major level up for the energy, the passion, the excitement, the inspiration required in order to actually bring this new vision, this new dream, again, 12th house energies, to life. So guys, I hope that you found this helpful. I know it's probably super overwhelming. There's a lot of information there, and there's so many different layers that we could kind of peel back and unpack when it comes to Saturn's influence in Pisces energy in all of our charts. We all have different placements. It's all activating different planetary alignments. It's all meaning something very different to each and every single one of us. But that is why our birth chart is so super important, because it's individual, it's very unique. Nobody has a birth chart like you do, which means that Saturn is not going to impact any two people in the exact same way. But hopefully this astro class at least kind of opened your eyes to how Saturn is going to act in this Pisces energy and how that mood or that attitude is going to impact certain areas of your life. So drop me a comment below. Let me know how you felt about this. This was a very difficult task for me. I'm not a very good technological person. So this took way longer for me to do than I thought it would. And hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully I didn't waste my time on it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you did, because I will continue to make these types of videos. I'm sure it'll get easier as I get a little bit more experience. But I just need some feedback to know whether this was helpful or harmful, whether it clarified or confused you. And of course, with Pisces energy really affecting us right now, confusion is definitely a high possibility. So I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop me some feedback in the comments below. And I really hope that you lean in and you boss up and you let Saturn teach you all that it is that you need to learn.